Hello, everybody. Let me pull this down because it makes me look like I'm okay. All right. Whew. All right. Welcome to number 280. Actually, I didn't check the number this time. Let me double check that I got it right. I think I got it right. Um, yeah. So yes, number 280. And we have a question to start with. I find myself running out of wind during certain. This is from David. I find myself running out of wind during certain sustained passages in the wind symphony. I don't have as much capacity as when I was younger. Could you go over proper breathing and air control? Um, so I have a slightly unique perspective on the whole air thing because when I was sick, which is we're creeping up. Well, we could say 2 years ago because at that time I was sick. I was sick for an extended time, months and months and months. Hello, Karen. Um, when I was in the hospital, they told me my lungs were 90% full of water. And now, obviously, they probably were not 90% full, but they were full back like a year, 2 years ago today. And I still played. I still played gigs. I still now what am I so how can I say that, right? I told you guys that I quit taking gigs in November of 2024. I quit taking most gigs. That I still took gigs that I thought I could do. I hope that makes sense. Um, so yes, I did take some gigs. It went from what it was to about one gig every 6 weeks, but I was still playing, is my point. So my perspective on being able to play when your breath capacity is taken down from what it normally is. By the way, we have a guest. Hello, Dory. Dory is our guest for today. Dory Bird is what I call her. And she's with us here to answer all of your cat trumpet problems. So yes, Dory is here with me. Anyway, and also I did keep recording. Now in the end, I couldn't do a whole hymn without stopping and restarting the tape. Um, but yes, I kept doing it, and I actually think if it weren't for the work I have done on my breathing before I was sick, I think I probably would have made it, gone into the hospital, or even just died much sooner than what I did. I actually believe that my breathing, where I kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it and pushing it, um, I actually believe that helped keep me alive. Because how do you operate on 10% of your lung capacity? How do you do that? So anyway, let me share with you what I think. So of course you need to do what you have to do to get as much physical capacity as possible. So that involves um, sitting up straight and stuff like that. I don't think that's enough. Now, you also have to determine whether or not which problem it is, right? Is it that you run out of air and there's nothing left in your lungs? And if that's the case, that's a different problem. Or is it that you are forced to take a breath sooner because the air becomes full of carbon dioxide? Those are not the same thing. My guess is that you're probably, and I say guess, it's only a guess, and it's only based on the fact that I've worked with so many students over the years, and most of the time when they can't go farther in their breath, they still have breath in their lungs, but they can't resist the urge to breathe because the breath gets stale with all the carbon dioxide in it, and they can't resist that urge. Now, if you are actually running out of air, now how do we know the difference? When you're running out of air, I'm going to blow all of my air out first, and then I'm going to play a long tone to the end of my air. So here's a breathe in, and then breathe most of it out. And all of the intercostal muscles are coming in, like there's no more room. Like the muscles have gone as far as they can go. The frame has pushed as far as it can go. There's nothing left. How close are you to that? And a lot of times, so now that doesn't mean that it doesn't happen. Of course it happens. Of course there are times when there's just not enough air to get through that phrase. That does happen. And normally the fix has nothing to do with posture or filling up more or anything like that. Normally that has nothing to do with it. Normally, when that does happen, it's because of the tone purity. The lower the tone purity is, the faster the air escapes out of the horn. The higher the tone purity is, the less physical air that it takes to actually play the instrument. So how do we fix that? We do things to improve tone purity. Right before you play, lather your lips up with some beeswax or whatever brand that you use. Let me see what I've got here. So I've got a beeswax tube here. Lather yourself up. Get that going. So that the lips respond more sympathetically to the air, and that brings your tone purity up. It's a very important. So if that is the case, that the air is actually gone out of your lungs, then what you do is to increase the purity. A lot of people will call this efficiency. So there's another thing that comes up when we talk about efficiency, uh, and to the right people, that's what efficiency is. It's not about effort. There are people who try to make the efficiency thing out to be effort, like you put less effort, and the horn just plays itself. It's more about the air. Um, yes, it does become easier to play when you play this way, but that's not where the true efficiency is. The true efficiency is, and once the once you reach that point of resonance, the instrument plays itself, right, and it takes less air. So how do we do that? We play in tune, not in tune to the tuner, in tune to the trumpet itself. And that's one of those subjects that's hard for people to wrap their head around. When I first was introduced to that concept, it really screwed me up mentally, right? It was like, how does that make sense? Not in tune to the tuner, in tune to the instrument. So we want the tubing of the instrument to vibrate at a resonant frequency. You have to play that the buzz that's coming out of the lips has to be at that frequency. So those are the two things. If you actually are running out of air, make your lips more supple so that the vibration can be more total. Chapped lips, not so good. Dry lips. I used to play what I used to call damp lips, right? There's the wet embouchure, there's the dry embouchure. Dry embouchure will always have lower um, tone purity. So we want moist lips. Hello, Seppo. Hello, uh, backfeed. Backfeed. Nice to see you guys. I hope what I'm saying makes sense. Um, so yes. Now, backfeed mentions the wedge breathing video by Bobby Shue. I'm not a big fan of that kind of breathing. And my criticisms have been, people have been trying to speak against my criticisms for that kind of breathing for a long, long time. None of it has convinced me yet. None of it has convinced me. I still think that it's more natural and more beneficial. And by the way, I don't believe wedge breathing gives you, on the topic that we're covering now, I don't think it gives you more lung capacity. I actually think, I read it was long ago, it was in the 80s, and they were doing research on musicians and how we expand our lung capacity. And there's exercises in the 80s that people were doing to expand their lung capacity, and how, so, and as most things are, it backfired on them. They did these long stretching exercises that actually caused scar tissue in the lungs that over time diminished their lung capacity. And so, yes, I'm very much against unnatural forms of breathing. Not just for that one reason. Music is not supposed to be unnatural, right? The music part of it. We want to be supernatural in things like practicing and phrasing and stuff like that. But so let me see here. Where am I now? Um, David says, I agree it relates to tone purity. I have a somewhat muffled and airy tone. Yes, so that would be my first step with you is, and the way we get more tone purity is, there's different things we can do, right? Stay hydrated, keep this moist. Um, do your lip bends. Do extra lip bends if you have to. Okay? Do extra lip bends if you have to. Do extra pedal tones if you have to. And that will help smooth all of this stuff up. All right. Um, so David asks, how do I know if the horn is resonating correctly? That's only by the sound. That's only by the sound. And part of the reason why we do the lip bends is because that helps us recognize that sound. You can't recognize it. You can't say, oh, so-and-so has that sound. That's not how it works. You have to know your sound. So when we pull the pitch out of tune and let it rise back up, we first take it out of resonance and then let it rise back up into resonance. And so that's part of the reason. It's not the only reason. I actually believe that bending the note down actually does something physical to the lips. I actually believe that. But yes, there's this other aspect of it where it shows us what our most resonant sound sounds like. So you get your lips lubed up, you bend the pitch down, let it float back up. And almost always, that's going to be your most resonant sound. So, yeah. So, Backfeed says, I was wondering what software program you use for your split screen videos. I use for the sound the Cubase, which is professional mixing software. You could call it mixing software. I use Cubase for the sound, and in order to use Cubase, I believe you have to have a, what do you call it, a audio interface. So when I do my YouTube videos, I record in an audio interface. I do not record into the video software. I do not use the audio that comes with the camera. I don't do that. Let me tell you this, though. That audio that comes with the camera is very important for helping you sync the audio that you recorded separately. It's a nightmare if you don't have the original audio. It's a nightmare because then getting it lined up is almost impossible. So yes, I use Cubase for the sound. I use the VideoPad video editor and this is by NCH Software. It's called VideoPad. It handles everything I need it to do. I can share screen and show you what it is. Let me share screen. This is what it looks like. You put your resources in here. This is the video preview. The preview is up here. Let me open something and we'll see. Oh. Oh, I thought it had an open recent. Let's do that. So here's like one of my missing files. I thought it had a recent button. Let me try this again. Okay, here's now this is one of the Q and A's that I edited. And I don't normally cut stuff out. I like it to be more natural than that. But sometimes I get carried away with the humming and hawing and all that. So, but yes, this is the preview. This is where the resources are, and then this is where you work with the video and the audio. So that's what I do. Hello, Jeffrey, and hello, Betsy. All right, good questions so far. Oh, I missed Karen. Karen says, I'm trying out a cornet and noticed that my right thumb presses harder against the pipe than with my trumpet. The valves are a bit shorter, but I can't figure out why. Am I holding it wrong? You know, I don't like, are you trying to put your thumb in here? I don't like that. And you can see by the wear on my horn. Oh, there we go. No, we don't. You can see by the wear on my horn, I don't put my thumb in there. Just every once in a while does it accidentally go in there. I either put this is very rare, but sometimes I do put it here. But more often I put it here. You can see, oh, it did it again. Can't see anything now. But yes, I put let's see if we can trick it. Why is it doing that? It's focusing like 2 inches away from the camera. Anyway, I put my thumb on the lead pipe. So I'll never get that. I remember when I was younger, I used to get that where the thumb was in there too hard and would cramp up my thumb. I wish there was a way for me to access. Maybe I can. Let me try this. I'm trying to see if I can't access my camera while we're camera device settings. Logitech. Here we go. Ooh, I can. Look at that. All right. I didn't know. Let's see what we can do. Okay. I don't know what to say. I apologize for the fuzzy video. It is an old camera. I keep threatening to get a new one, and then it behaves for a while, and then it happens again. What I don't understand is why it doesn't happen in the lessons. Oh, here we go. Thank you. You know what? I'm going to actually use this Zoom thing. Not that we want to see my face that much, but I actually like that. So yes, now I can show you. This is, I don't know if you can see all the pitting, but that's from my thumb. I put my thumb like this right here, and the rest of the hand is here. And I do not put my pinky in the ring. So that's how this looks. Give you all the different angles. Okay, this is how I play. You see it in the videos, right? So other than that, I don't know what else to tell you. I do know that some instruments are more vicious than others in the way it is holding them. Jeffrey is reminding everybody to hit like. Thank you, Jeffrey. Backfeed says, thanks for your time. You're welcome. Karen says, is that for both your trumpet and cornet or just the cornet where you put your thumb? Okay, there's a reason why I do this. It's not for the instrument, and it's not even for my playing. I do this because I had long ago carpal tunnel. I was practicing as much as 8 hours a day. I was working out with weights. I was spending a lot of time typing. And it got so bad I could not open a door. The doorknob, I couldn't put enough pressure on the doorknob to open a doorknob. And as a result of that, I went through this process of designing redesigning how I hold the instrument. So, and basically the way that is I stood like this and let my hand just go to its natural down position. And when I lifted it up, I kept it in that position. So then I put the horn up to that. And it's a natural position. This position that I teach, then that I do myself. Now, I say I teach it. I teach it when it comes up. I don't make all, you guys know, I don't make anybody do anything. Maybe I should. But yes, that's a natural position. And immediately after, well, I shouldn't say immediately. A week or two after I started playing this way, the carpal tunnel went away because I'm not pulling that tendon over the sheath. When you play like this, when you put the thumb in here, the wrist is bent. You have to bend the wrist to accommodate the that hand position. So yes, I got out of that. And that's why I hold it that way. So it doesn't matter, flugelhorn, piccolo, always the thumb is out like that. Okay, always. And you're never going to have pains in your thumb from that. It'll never happen. Now, what I can tell you, if you switch to it, it's hard to get used to. It took me about 2 months to get used to, with lots and lots of playing. I kept the analogy I used to use, and I've had this before. The analogy I used to use to describe what that felt like was like as if I was ice skating. There was no grip on the horn. But that's actually a good thing. You relieve so much on the face if the horn is just resting in your hands. So by putting my thumb there and my pinky out of the ring. By the way, the pinky does the same thing. The pinky, if you put your pinky in the ring, it forces you. Oh, I think that's my doctor. I can't answer that right now. I'll call them back. Anyway, so if you put your pinky in the ring, it puts your hand in a position where you have to bend your wrist. So that's something, and I know some of you are concerned about pressure, excess pressure. I don't like to call it just pressure because you have to have some pressure. If you hold the horn this way, you're getting rid of a whole bunch of that. All right, let's move on. David says, when listening for best resonance, should I use a mic and headphones? Now, I like the idea of recording yourself that way and listening to that, but I don't like the idea of listening while, well, I say I don't like it. I've never tried it. I understand. He says, it seems hard for me to truly know what is coming out of the instrument. I get that. I understand that. You know what I would rather do is sit with my horn to the wall. Let's say this is the wall, and the bell is right here. We did this in the 80s. This was the big thing. You stand or sit against the wall and you play into the wall. You're going to hear all the imperfections in your sound when you do that. And it's a great idea to pull that pitch down. Do your lip bends when you're facing the wall like that, and the sound will come bounce back into your ears. The alternative is that there are plexiglass. Let me see if I can find this. I'm going to do a Google search for plexiglass reflectors for trumpet practice. That's what my search terms are. Let's see what it says. And the answer is, oh, these are for recording. That's not the kind I'm looking for. The one that I know doesn't have a hole in the middle for a microphone. It's the same sort of thing. Here we go. I found it. It's on Amazon. Oh, where is it? Nope. Oh, here it is. Okay. I'm going to, where's the link button? Where's the link button? Let me do a search for share. No share button. Why is that? I'll just copy the URL. I don't like doing that because it's used. In fact, it's too huge, 300. Let me see if I can find the question mark and delete everything after the question mark. Okay, I got it. All right, so you can do this instead of putting your horn in the in the wall. A bit pricey, if you ask me, but this is what I know. I've seen people demonstrate these online, and I've seen people use them in person. It's a nice product. Looks kind of schmancy to me. I see. That's for the bell size. Hey, that's clever. One size fits all, right? You just have to move anyway. Yes, that's the kind of thing you can do so that you hear yourself better. Betsy asks, wouldn't that be hard on one's hearing? Oh, wait, let me back up. Seppo, I'll get back to you, Betsy. Seppo says, would you be available on the 9th of May at 9 a.m. Houston time for a concert I told you before that it seems most probable, but not sure yet? Let me look at my calendar. Probably yes. Except if it's a dialysis day, then all the bells and whistles might be a problem, right? Let me open my calendar. May 9th. That's a Saturday. I normally teach, but we can try to make a gap in the schedule and make that work. Um, so yes, normally I teach on Saturday mornings. It's the only morning that I teach, but yes, Saturday mornings I teach a pretty full schedule. But let me know as soon as you can if it's going to happen, and I'll make sure that. Too bad I can't like fly over there to go see you guys. I would love that. Um, but yes, as you know, as far as like being able to make it open, I can make that happen. All right, let me see if I make sure I haven't skipped anybody. Karen says she'll experiment with her thumb position. That's a good idea. Now, so Betsy says, wouldn't that be hard on one's hearing? It's not that bad. It's not that bad. I think you're going to get about the same decibels facing into the wall as you do away. I think you're going to get about the same. Um, but what changes is the frequency. And you know, as we get older, our high frequencies come down. What we're able to hear in the higher frequencies tends to come down, and pointing into the wall or having one of these devices will help compensate for that. So, but no, I don't think we're not we're not playing into the wall at massive volumes. It should just be mezzo forte or even mezzo piano. It shouldn't really be that loud. Betsy says cool. um, Kevin, hello, Kevin. Kevin says, I think you could make something that works 90% as well on a Saturday afternoon. I'm confused. I don't know what you're saying. I'm. Oh, I see. On a Saturday afternoon, you could make a reflector. Yes, that's correct. That's correct. Hello, Kevin. Nice to see you. Um, Betsy says, okay. Any more questions? You guys always have the best questions. Any other questions? Oh, Kevin says, I noticed that nobody in the open mic night seems to tune up with each other. Is this not a thing in jazz? Um, Let me tell you this. When we compare how serious the classical people take jazz and compare it to I mean, I'm sorry, I got words mixed up. When we compare how serious the classical people take intonation, it's their life blood. They care more about intonation than almost any other aspect of the performance. And the reason why is because the whole thing is ruined if it's out of tune. Whereas in smaller ensembles, especially when you're playing in a combo or a big band, in the smaller ensembles, I'm not going to say, because this would be ludicrous, I'm not going to say that it doesn't matter, that pitch doesn't matter when you're playing jazz. I'm not going to say that. But to the trained classical ear, that's what it looks like. You have to put it in perspective. To the trained classical ear, it looks to them like we don't care about intonation. And it's just not true. But there's there's some truth to it. We just don't care as much as they do. And I remember being on a gig where the trumpet players all had to do a fanfare before the actual dancing and all of that stuff. And the conductor, the leader of the band, is also a timpani player. He's passed away recently, but he was a timpani player for the ballet and timpani player for the Houston Symphony. So he's a classical guy. And we were playing this fanfare, and truly it was out of tune. And he screamed and hollered. He says, "Come on, guys, this isn't jazz." And the guys got so upset. But I'm on both sides of that, right? I'm on both sides. I am a classical player with orchestral training. And when you're playing classical music, even if it's just a fanfare, it's got to be more in tune than the standards we have on a jazz gig. It's got to be. It has to be. And I don't know how else to explain it than that. I know that someone like Wynton Marsalis would be very angry to hear something like that. I suspect, because he holds himself and others in his ensemble and all that stuff, he holds them to a very high standard, and I'm sure intonation is at the top of the list. But just because someone famous like that has those kinds of high standards does not mean that's how it is in the rest of the jazz world. And he's right to hold people to that kind of standard. That doesn't mean that's how it is. And I used to play in an ensemble. It was sort of regarded as the best community college jazz band in the United States at the time. And the teacher taught us not to tune, that we should tune by ear. And that's only half true. You do have to tune your instrument before you start, but they would never tune because we're supposed to tune by ear. That's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. I like to think of the tuning that you do before the ensemble starts. Yes, we do have to tune by ear. So do the classical guys. But you got to calibrate your horn first. You have to get your horn in the right ballpark first, then play by ear. But yes, there's a whole culture of jazz musicians that don't believe in tuning. for this reason, right? They tune while they play, and a lot of them pull it off. So you have to ask yourself, how out of tune is it when you listen to them? A lot of times it's perfectly fine, right? Even though they didn't tune beforehand. Anyway, let me move on. Um, so Kevin says he attended the open mic again. Woohoo! We like that. David says, can you talk about pivoting the horn? I tend to not pivot very much. So I believe that it's important to understand the pivot and why we do it. The reason why we pivot is to allow equal pressure on each lip, and that changes as we go higher and lower. So that because of jaw position and lip position and all of that, that's going to change as we change registers. But I don't believe in. It would be different if we had access to Charles Reinhardt. Not Charles Reinhardt. Reinhardt. I forget his first name. I said Charles Reinhardt because yesterday I went to the Charles Reinhardt Auditorium on TSU campus. Donald Reinhardt. I think his name's Donald Reinhardt. If we had lessons with Donald Reinhardt, who studied this and mastered it, and he says tilt your instrument up, then I would say, yes, tilt your instrument up. We don't have that expertise. So I don't approach it that way. I don't say tilt it up, tilt it down. I believe in, and I've shown you guys this exercise before, I believe in having a flexible wrist in the left hand, and that this wrist should follow, the angle of the horn should follow whatever we do on the instrument. So notice that I can lift my head up, and the instrument goes down. I can put my head down like this. And I actually teach the students, if they're holding the instrument static, then I teach them to do this exercise before they play. So you look up, down, up, down, up, down. And we don't want to force that when we're playing. But the more you do that exercise, the more comfortable that movement becomes. We're not playing the horn. Let me make that clear. We're not playing the horn. We're just letting the head control the angle. And if you hold the instrument that way, it should accommodate whatever changes you make in your face. So that's how I approach that. Hello, Dylan. Nice to see you. Dylan asks, what are some tips to get rid of a double buzz when playing? You know what's funny? I wrote an article about double buzz, and it got mentioned on Wikipedia. I can't get myself mentioned on Wikipedia because I'm not notable enough. But my article is cited as a source for double buzz. I believe double buzz is a form of fatigue. And I have a video about that I call the three levels of rest. I will find the video right now. Excuse me. And I will put a link. Let me put the link. Here it comes. I believe this is the answer to double buzz. Okay, you do these 3 levels of rest, and within, I don't know, it depends how bad it is. Within a certain amount of time, it will go away. Um, Double buzz, just for those who don't know, the theory is that the 2 lips vibrate at 2 different frequencies. Okay, the so if you're not resting now, if you want to know more about that kind of resting, I strongly recommend my One Range book. I strongly recommend it because the you could say that the One Range book is the art of the rest. Okay. Um. Oh, that's I meant. Okay, here we go. Let me pull up the link for that. So yes, I do recommend my One Range book. I'll try to get a link here. Oh, I don't have a One Range page. How is that possible? Oh, wait, let me back up. I'll go to the. Here we go. This is an anchored link on my book page that will take you straight to the One Range book. It's got links on there if you want to buy it. Um, so yes, the One Range book goes into deeper um, methodology about how to incorporate that range. Um, anyway, incorporate that. What did I just say? Not range. Incorporate that rest. Um, we got a lot of questions. That's great. Karen says, any suggestions for ear training to help with staying in tune with the ensemble? All ear training that you do will help with that. I also think that using solfeggio, learning solfeggio as a separate art will go a long, long, long way towards that. And I'm also I mentioned these guys last week. Listening to ensembles that sing or perform in tune helps a lot. So we talked about Voces 8 last week. Watch as many videos of Voces 8 as you can get your hands on because their intonation is wonderful. So also don't forget the lip bends are going to help that as well. So Kevin says, I can see why multiple of the same instruments playing in unison would need to match. Yes, that's right. Seppo says, when speaking of tuning, I have noticed when playing in keys with many sharps, I put my tuning slide in, but with keys with many flats, it's the opposite. Tuning slide out. Is there any grounding for this? Yes, of course. Sometimes that can be partly the design of the instrument. Sometimes. But think about remember that they say that the trumpet is a naturally out of tune instrument. And when we're in sharps, we're on a different side of the the cycle of fifths. We're on a whole different side of that circle. And yes, that's going to put us in a different tuning place. Um, so I can see that. I think that's a good practice, really. Betsy says, what I really love about the horn is that there is plenty of room for us to blow in tune. Oh, I'm not sure what you're saying. I'm sorry. What I love about the horn is that, oh, you mean like the French horn? Yeah, Beckfeed says Charles Cullen and Dr. Reinhardt. Those are the two. I didn't know Charles Cullen did pivoting, but Dr. Reinhardt, of course. Um, Dylan says, thanks. You're welcome. Karen says, I find that readjusting the horn on the lips helps some when I start to double buzz. That's that makes sense. Yes, Backfeed says Colin was the big lip flexibilities guy. That's right. I used to do his um, lip slurs religiously in the 80s. That's right. Starting on a middle range pitch and working outward. That's right. I remember that. Yeah, I did a lot of that when I was younger. It was actually part of my crash and burn. It's no fault. It's no fault of the book. I was not using it properly. But when I did have my crash and burn, I rebelled from all the traditional lip slurs. I haven't done them in 40 years. Um, and there's some people that trumpet is a religion for them, and they wouldn't believe that I can play as well as I do when I don't do traditional lip slurs. I made up my own lip slurs, and they work better than the traditional lip slurs, and you get it done. You get it done, and you can move on with the rest of your day. Okay, it looks like I can take maybe another question or two. Anybody have a question they want to share real quick? Always good to hang out with you guys. Always good. All right, I guess I will shut it down. Um, have a great weekend. Oh, I don't know what unfurling versus M means. So maybe you can ask that next week. Okay. Um, yeah, thank you guys. God bless you. Have a wonderful weekend and a beautiful week. And we'll see you next time. Thank you very much.